The morning sun filtered through the sheer curtains, casting a warm glow across the room. I lay in bed, cocooned in soft sheets, listening to the distant sounds of suburban life. Birds chirped outside, and the faint hum of a lawnmower echoed from somewhere down the street. It was another Saturday in Portland, where weekends felt like a gentle pause from the rhythm of the workweek. Yet, as I lay there, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. My husband had left for a business trip early Friday morning. The house felt emptier than usual without his presence. I turned my head to glance at the clock on my nightstand. It was already past 10. I should have been up and about, perhaps brewing a pot of coffee or tidying up before heading to my favorite cafe on Hawthorne Boulevard. Instead, I lingered in bed, wrapped in a blanket of solitude. The routine of my life had become predictable: wake up, prepare breakfast for two, engage in small talk over coffee, and then wave goodbye as he headed out the door. The monotony weighed heavily on me like an anchor pulling me deeper into still waters. I craved something more than just the familiar cadence of our lives together, a spark that had long since faded. As I finally threw off the covers and swung my legs over the side of the bed, a thought struck me: today could be different. Maybe it was time to break free from this cycle of sameness. The door to my heart felt ajar. Perhaps it was time to explore what lay beyond its threshold. I padded quietly through the house and made my way to the kitchen. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air as I prepared myself a cup. Outside, sunlight danced on dew-kissed grass. It beckoned me to step outside and embrace whatever awaited me beyond these walls. After sipping my coffee slowly, savoring each drop as if it were liquid courage, I grabbed my keys and headed toward the front door. It was unlatched, a small oversight that offered an unexpected invitation into new possibilities. Stepping outside felt liberating. Fresh air filled my lungs as I took in my surroundings, the vibrant colors of blooming flowers lining our street and children laughing while riding their bikes nearby. Yet as I walked down my driveway towards the sidewalk, a sense of trepidation washed over me. I glanced toward my neighbor's house next door. He had always been friendly but distant, a wave here and there during summer barbecues or casual chats while collecting mail. Today seemed different somehow. There was an energy in the air that urged me forward. As if sensing my gaze upon him, he stepped out onto his porch just then, his hair tousled from sleep yet somehow still charming in its disarray. He caught sight of me and offered a warm smile that sent an unexpected flutter through my chest. "Good morning," he called out cheerfully. "Morning," I replied softly, surprised by how easily we fell into conversation despite our usual distance. "Coffee?" he asked playfully, gesturing toward his own steaming mug resting on his porch railing. "I just made some," I admitted with a hint of shyness creeping into my voice. "Care for some company?" His eyes twinkled with mischief as he stepped off his porch and approached me on the sidewalk. In that moment, standing there with him under the brightening sky felt like stepping into uncharted territory, a place where routine faded away into something more alive and vibrant than anything I'd experienced lately. "I could use some fresh air," I said before fully processing what those words meant for us both. We walked together down our quiet street toward a nearby park where trees swayed gently in rhythm with our footsteps. Conversation flowed easily between us, sharing stories about our lives while laughter danced around us like sunlight filtering through leaves overhead. But beneath this newfound connection lay an undercurrent of anxiety. Guilt nagged at me like an unwelcome guest, reminding me of where I belonged, at home waiting for him to return from his trip. Yet here we were, two neighbors finding solace in each other's company amid our separate lives filled with expectations and obligations, a shared moment that felt both thrilling and terrifying all at once. As we reached a secluded bench nestled beneath towering oaks, he turned to face me directly, his expression shifting from playful banter to something deeper as he leaned closer with intent eyes searching mine for understanding or perhaps permission to cross an unspoken line between us. "You know," he began slowly, "sometimes you need someone who understands what you're going through." His words hung heavy between us like uncharted territory waiting to be explored, the weight of them igniting something within me that had long been dormant but now stirred awake by curiosity mingling with apprehension. Before I could respond or even fully comprehend how far we'd ventured into this moment together, a sudden noise erupted nearby. The sound of children playing broke through our bubble like cold water splashed across skin, jolting us back to reality. We both turned abruptly towards the source, laughter echoing down another path leading away from us, and just like that, whatever connection we'd begun to forge slipped back behind walls built by years spent adhering strictly to societal norms and expectations surrounding fidelity within marriage, despite its stifling nature choking out any semblance of passion left inside me. "I should get going," he said quickly after glancing at his watch, a hint of regret laced within those words as if acknowledging how fragile this encounter truly was, yet unable to resist its allure entirely either. "Right," came out barely above a whisper before retreating back toward home became inevitable once again, our brief moment together slipping away like grains of sand falling through fingers, grasping desperately at fleeting memories yet knowing full well they couldn't last forever, without consequences lurking just beyond sight, waiting patiently until choices were made that might change everything forevermore. The door clicked shut behind him, leaving me in the soft glow of my living room. The lingering warmth of his kiss still tingled on my lips, a stark contrast to the cool air that enveloped me now. I could hear the distant sound of children laughing outside, their joyful noise a reminder of the life I had chosen. Yet, in that moment, all I could think about was how different my own life felt, how suffocatingly predictable it had become. I sank into the couch, staring at the empty space where he had stood moments before. My heart raced as I replayed our encounter in my mind, grappling with the thrill and guilt swirling within me. The kiss had ignited something dormant inside, a yearning I hadn't fully acknowledged until this very moment. It was as if a door had been opened within me, revealing emotions long buried beneath layers of routine and obligation. But guilt seeped into my thoughts like ink on paper. I glanced toward the kitchen where remnants of dinner still lingered, the plates half cleared from our meal earlier that night. My husband's absence weighed heavily on me. He was away for work again, leaving me alone to navigate this new reality. The quiet house echoed with unspoken words and unshed tears, amplifying the conflict brewing within. A sudden noise outside jolted me back to reality, a car door slamming shut followed by footsteps approaching my front porch. My heart raced again as fear gripped me. What if it was him? What would I say? Would I hide what had just happened or let it unravel like an old sweater? I stood up quickly, glancing out the window to see a neighbor walking past, oblivious to my inner turmoil. Relief washed over me as I recognized his familiar figure, someone who belonged to this neighborhood yet felt so different from everyone else. He was a reminder of possibilities beyond my current life, someone who could offer distraction from my mundane existence. As I settled back onto the couch, uncertainty gnawed at me. Could this be more than just a fleeting moment? Was it worth risking everything for a connection that felt so real yet so dangerous? Each question spiraled through my mind like autumn leaves caught in a whirlwind. I reached for my phone and opened a social media app, scrolling through pictures of friends and acquaintances celebrating milestones, birthdays, anniversaries, new homes, all seemingly happy in their lives while mine felt stagnant in comparison. A pang of envy twisted in my stomach as I remembered how easy it used to be to feel content with what I had. The doorbell rang again, pulling me from my thoughts. This time it was accompanied by a familiar voice calling out through the door. "Hey. Just checking in." I hesitated before responding. Part of me wanted to hide away from any interaction while another part craved companionship, even if only for a moment. With a deep breath, I opened the door wide enough to reveal myself without fully inviting him inside. "Oh. Sorry if I'm interrupting," he said with an easy smile that made my heart flutter against all reason. "No interruption at all," I replied too quickly, feeling flustered under his gaze. He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation and glanced around as if assessing whether everything was as it should be in this familiar space we shared across fences and gardens. "I brought you some cookies," he said cheerfully, holding out a small plate covered with plastic wrap. "Thanks. That's really sweet," I replied softly, taking them from him while our fingers brushed against each other briefly, a spark igniting once more between us. We stood there for a moment longer than necessary before he shifted his weight awkwardly and cleared his throat. "So, how's your husband doing?" "Busy with work," I managed to say without faltering too much while trying not to dwell on how often those words were becoming part of our conversation lately. His expression shifted slightly, an understanding passing silently between us that felt charged yet unspoken. "I get it," he replied quietly before looking down at his feet like they held all the answers we both needed but couldn't articulate just yet. The silence stretched between us until finally breaking when he stepped closer again, this time invading personal space more than before, and suddenly everything shifted into something more electric than casual conversation could contain. In an impulsive moment fueled by longing and confusion alike, we kissed again. Our lips met gently but urgently as if trying to communicate all those unsaid feelings colliding within each other's hearts without needing words at all. Then came another jarring sound, a loud crash outside followed by shouts echoing through the neighborhood like thunder rolling across dark skies above us both. We pulled apart instantly, reality crashing back down around us like waves breaking against rocky shores after moments spent adrift on softer tides. "What was that?" he asked nervously while glancing toward the window where shadows danced ominously against dimming daylight filtering through curtains drawn too tightly against outside chaos unfolding beyond them both now. "I don't know," came out breathlessly as adrenaline coursed through veins still humming from our shared kiss moments ago, a reminder of everything hanging precariously between us now amidst uncertainty looming large overhead like storm clouds gathering strength readying themselves for inevitable downpour ahead. "Should we check?" His voice trembled slightly betraying concern cloaked beneath bravado masking vulnerability lurking beneath layers built over years spent navigating lives intertwined alongside one another yet never truly knowing what lay hidden beneath surfaces polished smooth. Over time together spent apart instead somehow always together here now standing side by side facing unknown dangers threatening peace established long ago once upon safer days lived without worry creeping slowly into corners once filled. Only laughter echoing freely under sunlit skies above instead now replaced shadows cast thickly across landscapes once brightened warm colors fading slowly away. "I think we should stay inside." My voice trailed off unsure whether caution outweighed curiosity or vice versa anymore since choices made today might ripple outward forever altering paths chosen ahead leading down roads less traveled than expected ever anticipated. Before either could speak further about choices looming heavy overhead threatening consequences waiting patiently just beyond sight lurking nearby ready pounce upon unsuspecting hearts daring explore deeper waters unknown. The silence of the room enveloped us, a cocoon woven from the threads of shared breaths and unspoken desires. I could hear my heart pounding, a steady rhythm that echoed in the stillness. Outside, the world continued its mundane dance, oblivious to the turmoil brewing within me. The weight of what had just transpired pressed heavily on my chest, a mixture of exhilaration and dread. I pulled back slightly, searching his eyes for answers that eluded me. There was a flicker of vulnerability there, an openness that mirrored my own confusion. It was both comforting and terrifying. I was stepping into territory I had long avoided. The familiar scent of him, a blend of cedarwood and something uniquely him, wrapped around me, igniting memories I thought I had buried deep. "Are you sure about this?" The question slipped from my lips before I could stop it. The very air between us crackled with uncertainty. "I don't know," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But it feels right." The contradiction in his words resonated with me. How could something feel right and yet be so wrong? My mind raced through the implications, the potential fallout from this momentary lapse into passion. What would happen when my husband returned? Would I be able to face him knowing I had crossed an invisible line? The door stood ajar behind him, an invitation to escape or perhaps to confront what lay beyond our bubble of intimacy. Yet, as tempting as it was to flee into the night air, I found myself rooted in place. My thoughts were a chaotic swirl, every second stretched into eternity. "Do you want to talk about it?" he ventured cautiously. A part of me craved that connection, the kind that had been missing for so long, but another part recoiled at the thought of unraveling everything we'd just begun to weave together. "What is there to say?" My voice trembled slightly as I struggled against the tide of emotions threatening to pull me under. "We could take this slow," he suggested gently, his eyes searching mine for reassurance. Slow felt like a luxury I couldn't afford anymore. Each heartbeat reminded me how fleeting time was. Every moment spent in this limbo felt like a betrayal to both him and myself. "I need time," I finally replied, though even as the words left my mouth, doubt crept in. Time was not something either of us truly had. As if sensing my inner conflict, he stepped back slightly but kept his gaze locked onto mine. "I don't want to rush you into anything." His sincerity shone through despite the tension crackling in the air between us. Our lips met again, a fleeting brush that ignited sparks but left questions lingering like shadows in my mind. It was tender yet electric, a reminder that we were both teetering on the edge of something profound yet perilous. Suddenly, a familiar scent wafted through the room, a hint of cologne mixed with laundry detergent, so reminiscent of my husband's embrace that it sent chills racing down my spine. The warmth dissipated instantly as reality crashed back in like an unwelcome wave pulling me under. "I can't do this," I blurted out, panic rising within me like bile. "Not while he's away." His expression shifted from understanding to concern as he took another step back, creating space between us that felt insurmountable now. "Then let's just forget this happened." His tone held an undercurrent of disappointment mingled with respect for my boundaries. "Maybe." The word hung heavy between us as I grappled with conflicting emotions, desire battling guilt in an unrelenting war within my heart. We stood there in silence for what felt like hours before he broke it again softly, "I'll go." He turned toward the door slowly but paused before stepping through it completely. "Just know, you're not alone." And then he was gone, a whisper fading into silence behind him as reality settled back around me like a shroud. The emptiness echoed loudly now, each tick of the clock seemed magnified against the backdrop of what might have been. I sank onto the couch, staring blankly at nothing while memories played on repeat in my mind, laughter shared over coffee cups at local cafes and stolen glances during neighborhood gatherings where we pretended everything was normal and predictable. But beneath that facade lay an ache for something deeper, something more than routine or obligation could ever offer, and now it lingered like smoke swirling after a fire extinguished too soon. The door remained ajar behind him, a reminder of choices made and unmade, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that every decision from here on out would shape not only our lives but also our hearts irrevocably. Time slipped by unnoticed until finally fatigue washed over me like a tide pulling away remnants left behind after stormy seas recede. As darkness began to settle outside, casting shadows across familiar surroundings that once felt safe yet suffocating now, I closed my eyes seeking solace in sleep's embrace despite knowing tomorrow would bring clarity wrapped tightly within uncertainty's grasp once again. But just before surrendering fully to slumber's call, my phone buzzed insistently against the table surface beside me, breaking through layers built around vulnerability, hardening into walls erected against emotional exposure. The name flashing across its screen sent jolts through every nerve ending, sparking awareness anew. The very man who had unknowingly anchored me amidst chaos now reaching out from afar while uncertainty loomed larger than ever before, threatening everything we'd built upon fragile foundations laid bare beneath, hidden truths waiting patiently beneath surface calmness, ready strike when least expected. The morning light crept through the curtains, casting a soft glow around the room. I stirred, blinking against the brightness, and turned to my side. The space beside me was warm but empty. Memories of the previous night flooded back, igniting a mix of exhilaration and dread within me. We spent the night together, wrapped in each other's warmth, indulging in stolen moments that felt both liberating and forbidden. As I lay there, the weight of my phone on the bedside table became palpable. It buzzed again, a reminder of the life I had left outside these walls. The name on the screen was familiar yet distant, my husband's. My heart raced as I reached for it, hesitating for just a moment before swiping to unlock. "Hey, just checking in. Hope you're doing okay." The words felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. They pulled me back to reality, a reality where secrets lingered like shadows in every corner of my mind. A wave of guilt washed over me as I recalled his absence while I had sought comfort in another's embrace. I typed a quick response, trying to mask my inner turmoil with casual nonchalance. "I'm good. Just enjoying some quiet time at home." As soon as I hit send, I regretted it. The lie hung heavy in the air around me, mixing with remnants of our night together, the laughter shared, whispers exchanged, and promises made in fleeting moments that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. I glanced over at him still asleep on the couch across the room, his features softened by slumber. The sight stirred something deep inside, a longing for connection that had been absent for far too long. Yet alongside that desire was an unsettling awareness of what this meant for us both. The phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from my husband asking if he should bring home dinner later that evening. The thought of him returning to find me here, caught between two worlds, sent shivers down my spine. It was an innocent question but carried weighty implications. "Sure," I replied tersely before tossing the phone aside as if it were a hot coal burning into my skin. I needed space to think, to process everything swirling within me like leaves caught in an autumn wind. Rising from bed, I slipped into comfortable clothes and padded quietly into the kitchen, hoping to find solace in routine. The aroma of coffee brewing filled the air as I prepared myself a cup, a small ritual that anchored me amidst this chaos. As steam curled upwards from the mug cradled between my hands, thoughts raced through my mind about what had transpired last night and what lay ahead. Just then, he appeared in the doorway, his hair tousled and eyes still bleary from sleep. For a moment we stood there silently, an unspoken understanding passed between us like electricity crackling in the air. "Good morning," he said softly, voice hoarse with sleep yet laced with warmth that made my heart flutter unexpectedly. "Morning," I managed to reply with a hint of nervousness creeping into my tone. He stepped closer, filling the space between us with an intensity that sent goosebumps racing across my skin despite myself. "Did you sleep okay?" "Yeah," I responded too quickly. It felt like another lie layered atop those already building within me. His gaze lingered on mine for longer than necessary before he broke away to pour himself some coffee as well. The silence stretched between us, a fragile thread connecting our shared secret while reminding us of its precarious nature. "I should probably get going soon," he said after taking a sip from his cup. "Don't want to overstay my welcome." Those words struck hard. They echoed through me like thunder rolling across dark skies foretelling an approaching storm. "You don't have to rush off," I offered hesitantly as uncertainty gnawed at me from within. Wasn't this what we both craved? He paused mid-sip before setting his cup down carefully on the counter beside him. There was something profoundly vulnerable about how he looked at me then, as if searching for answers hidden behind layers built up over years spent navigating our respective lives alone amidst others' expectations. "I just don't want things to get complicated," he admitted, finally breaking eye contact and focusing instead on stirring his coffee absent-mindedly while avoiding any further acknowledgement of where we stood now. "Complicated?" That word hung heavily between us like an uninvited guest lingering too long at a party when everyone else had moved on, its presence suffocating yet impossible to ignore any longer. Before either of us could say more or delve deeper into discussions best left untouched for now, a sharp knock echoed through our fragile bubble, shattering whatever peace we'd managed to create thus far. My heart raced again as panic surged within me. Who could be knocking at this hour? Instinctively glancing toward him revealed surprise etched across his features, mirroring mine perfectly. It seemed neither one of us expected company today, nor did we want any interruptions amidst these delicate moments unfolding around us now. "Do you think it's someone?" he whispered urgently, glancing toward where sound originated, the door leading back out into normalcy beyond these walls, filled with uncertainty surrounding everything we'd begun exploring together without fully understanding its implications yet. "I don't know," came out barely above breathless whispers, escaping lips still tinged with remnants left behind during our earlier exchanges, a stark reminder that nothing remained simple anymore, regardless how much either one wished otherwise. Another knock, followed by muffled voices, drifted closer, familiar ones belonging not only outside but also belonging firmly inside memories shared long before last night changed everything irrevocably forevermore. "I'll check," I said, finally feeling grounded enough despite racing thoughts threatening once again spiral out control if allowed too much freedom without boundaries established first, protecting fragile hearts involved here today, facing unknown challenges ahead. As I approached cautiously toward doorframe, bracing myself against whatever awaited beyond threshold, separating two worlds colliding together unexpectedly, I couldn't shake feeling something monumental hung just beyond reach, waiting patiently, ready strike when least expected. The door creaked slightly as I opened it, the familiar scent of fresh coffee wafting in from the kitchen. It was a mundane morning, yet the heaviness of yesterday's choices lingered like a fog. I had spent the night grappling with my thoughts, the thrill of what had happened still buzzing beneath my skin. But now, with daylight streaming through the window, I faced a different kind of reality. I poured myself a cup of coffee, watching the steam curl upward, momentarily lost in its warmth. The festival was only a few days away, and while part of me longed to embrace the vibrancy it promised, another part felt an impending dread. What if someone recognized me? What if the neighbor showed up? As I sipped my coffee, my phone buzzed on the counter, a message from a friend. "Hey. Are you coming to the festival this weekend?" I hesitated before typing back. Should I put on a brave face and join everyone else in their excitement? Or should I retreat into the comfort of my home and hide from what I had begun to feel? A knock at the door jolted me from my reverie. My heart raced as I approached cautiously. The last thing I needed was an unexpected visitor disrupting my fragile balance. Peeking through the peephole revealed one of my close friends standing there, her face lit up with enthusiasm. "Open up," she called out playfully. With a resigned sigh, I opened the door wide enough for her to step inside. "Hey. What brings you here? I thought we could plan our festival outfits together." She beamed with excitement, oblivious to my internal struggle. "Sure," I replied with forced enthusiasm. "Let me grab some snacks." As I moved toward the kitchen, she followed closely behind, chatting about her plans for the event. Her words flowed effortlessly while mine felt stilted and heavy with unspoken truths. "You should totally wear that cute dress you bought last summer," she suggested as she rifled through my closet without invitation. "And don't forget those shoes." I nodded absently, feeling detached from her exuberance. The thought of wearing anything that might draw attention made me uneasy. "Maybe something more casual?" She paused mid-sentence and turned to me with a knowing look in her eyes. "You okay? You seem off." "I'm fine," I replied too quickly, hoping to deflect her concern. "Really?" she pressed gently but firmly. "You can talk to me about anything." The weight of her words hung in the air between us like an uninvited guest. How could I explain this tangled web of emotions? The longing for connection while simultaneously feeling trapped by decisions made long ago? Before I could respond, she continued enthusiastically about festival activities, live music, food stalls filled with local delicacies, and how we should make it a day to remember. "Let's do it," she said finally, clapping her hands together as if sealing our plans in stone. But inside me churned conflicting thoughts about what attending would mean for my secret life across the hall, my neighbor who had stirred something deep within me during those stolen moments together. Okay, I finally conceded with a half-hearted smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. As we moved back into the living room to finalize our plans, an unexpected wave of guilt washed over me for agreeing so easily despite everything else weighing on my conscience. Later that afternoon, after my friend left with promises to meet again soon for last-minute preparations, silence enveloped me once more within these four walls that felt increasingly suffocating. The sun dipped low outside, shadows danced across furniture like memories flickering just out of reach. I glanced at my phone again, no messages from him today yet. A small part of me wished he would text just to break this monotonous cycle gripping my heart tighter each passing hour. The clock ticked steadily on while uncertainty loomed larger than life itself. Every minute felt like an eternity spent wrestling between safety and desire, the choice looming ever closer as festival day approached rapidly. That evening brought an unsettling calmness within myself. Perhaps it was denial or simply avoidance manifesting into something tangible, but there was no denying how much anticipation filled every corner alongside dread creeping ever closer like shadows under moonlight spilling across floors below. When night fell completely outside, wrapped in darkness, I found myself staring out at stars twinkling far above. Their beauty offered solace amid chaos swirling within. A reminder that even amidst uncertainty lay possibilities waiting patiently just beyond reach if only one dared reach out further into unknown territories ahead. Suddenly there came another knock at my door. The sound reverberated through empty spaces echoing all around, this time louder than before demanding immediate attention from someone who clearly wouldn't take no for an answer. With hesitant steps forward toward threshold awaiting revelation beyond, my heart raced anew wondering who stood waiting just outside waiting patiently ready strike when least expected. The festival was a kaleidoscope of color, laughter, and music, but as I stepped into the thrumming crowd, I felt an unexpected heaviness settle over me. My husband had insisted on attending, eager to immerse himself in the community spirit that marked this annual event. He had always found joy in these gatherings, while I often felt like a spectator in my own life. As we wandered through the stalls filled with handmade crafts and local delicacies, I caught sight of my neighbor across the way. He stood with a group of friends, his laughter ringing out above the din. The sight of him sent a jolt through me, a mix of warmth and trepidation. Would he acknowledge me? Would our shared secret hang in the air between us like an unspoken promise? "Look at those pies," my husband said, nudging me gently. "Let's get one for dessert." I nodded absently, my gaze drifting back to where my neighbor stood. He caught my eye and smiled, a brief moment that felt electric amidst the chaos surrounding us. I could feel my heart race as I turned away quickly, pretending to examine a booth filled with vibrant scarves. "Are you okay?" My husband's voice broke through my thoughts. "Yeah, just thinking," I replied, forcing a smile. "About what?" he asked. "Just life," I said vaguely. He frowned slightly but didn't press further. Instead, he led me toward a booth showcasing local pottery. As he chatted with the vendor about her work, I stole another glance at my neighbor. He was watching me now, his expression unreadable. The weight of our unspoken connection was palpable even from across the street. The festival continued around us. The sounds of children laughing mingled with the scent of roasted corn and cinnamon sugar wafting through the air, but all I could focus on was this moment suspended between two worlds, one filled with comfortable predictability and another pulsing with untamed possibility. As we moved deeper into the crowd, we approached a small stage where local musicians played lively folk tunes. My husband pulled me closer to dance among others swaying to the rhythm. For a fleeting moment, I tried to lose myself in the music. However, every beat felt like a reminder of what lay beyond this facade of normalcy. Then it happened, a chance encounter that shattered whatever fragile equilibrium I'd been clinging to. My neighbor stepped forward from behind a group of people just as we twirled around in our makeshift dance space. His eyes locked onto mine, an intensity that made everything else fade away for just an instant. "Hey there," he called out casually enough to blend into the festive atmosphere but charged with an undercurrent that only we understood. My heart raced as my husband turned toward him with surprise etched on his face. "Oh. You know each other?" he asked. "Yes," my neighbor replied smoothly, though his gaze remained fixed on me rather than acknowledging my husband fully. "We were just talking about how great this festival is," I added quickly, trying to deflect any awkwardness that might arise from this unexpected meeting. The conversation flowed easily enough, surface-level pleasantries exchanged while underneath lay an undeniable tension simmering just below our words. My husband engaged more actively now with my neighbor's friends while I found myself slipping into silence as they discussed local politics and community events. But every laugh shared between them felt like nails on a chalkboard. It only served to highlight how disconnected I truly was from both men in this moment. One who represented safety and familiarity and another who ignited passions long buried beneath layers of routine. Suddenly feeling overwhelmed by it all, the noise, the laughter, it became suffocating rather than liberating. "I need some fresh air," I blurted out before stepping away from their conversation without waiting for anyone's response. I found refuge beneath an old oak tree at the edge of the festival grounds where shadows danced playfully against sunlit grass. Leaning against its sturdy trunk gave me solace as if nature itself understood my turmoil better than anyone else could. Moments passed before footsteps approached. My neighbor stood there again looking more serious than before as he regarded me carefully under lowered brows. "You okay?" he asked quietly enough so only I could hear him above distant music playing behind us. "I don't know," came out almost as a whisper laden with uncertainty spilling forth like confessions meant for no one else but him alone in this chaotic world outside our lives' boundaries woven together by chance encounters hidden behind closed doors. "I saw you dancing," he continued softly yet earnestly. Warmth radiated from his presence even amidst chaos swirling around us, both still lingering nearby somewhere else entirely different than here right now. "It's not what it looks like," I said defensively. Guilt washed over me anew, realizing how easily those words slipped past lips meant for someone else entirely. "What do you want?" he pressed gently yet firmly. His eyes searched mine, seeking answers hidden deep within tangled emotions, begging for clarity amidst confusion clouding judgment. "I want," the words caught in throat choked by fear. The fear of losing everything familiar or worse, still facing unknown consequences waiting beyond every choice made along paths taken thus far leading nowhere good. Before another word escaped either mouth, a sudden commotion erupted nearby, pulling attention away from intimate exchange taking place beneath oak tree sheltering secrets only two souls dared share tonight. "What's going on?" My heart raced anew at sudden shouts echoing across festival grounds, drawing curious spectators toward unfolding drama unfolding elsewhere beyond reach right now. A few moments later, a crowd began gathering around something happening ahead, curiosity piqued despite dread coiling tightly within chest, constricting breath itself making it hard even think clearly anymore. "What is it?" My voice trembled slightly, betraying anxiety rising steadily beneath surface calm facade worn so carefully all evening long until now. "I don't know." His eyes darted toward gathering throng, then back to mine, searching desperately for answers neither knew existed anywhere close by anymore. And then, through parted bodies blocking view, I glimpsed something shocking unfolding ahead. A confrontation brewing between two familiar faces caught up in heated exchange, drawing everyone closer, still unable to resist magnetic pull drawing them nearer toward chaos erupting right here tonight. Every heartbeat echoed louder than before, drowning out laughter fading fast into distant memory, leaving only uncertainty lingering heavy upon shoulders, pressing down hard against fragile spirit, yearning desperately find solace somewhere safe again soon enough. The crowd around me pulsed with energy, laughter mingling with the distant notes of a local band. Yet, instead of feeling exhilarated, I felt trapped. My heart raced as I caught sight of both familiar faces, my husband and my neighbor. The vibrant festival, once a source of joy, morphed into a pressure cooker of emotions. I stood at the edge of the crowd, watching them interact. My husband's laughter rang out like a bell, clear and bright. He was animated as he spoke to others, his charm shining through the chaos. But then there was my neighbor, standing just a few feet away, his expression clouded with something darker. The contrast between their energies felt like a chasm I couldn't bridge. "Hey! Look who it is!" My husband called out to me, waving enthusiastically. The warmth in his voice felt foreign now, almost like an echo from a life that seemed increasingly distant. I forced a smile as I approached them. "Hi! Looks like you're having fun." "Just catching up," my husband replied casually, oblivious to the tension simmering beneath the surface. But my neighbor's gaze bore into mine with an intensity that made my stomach twist. He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only I could hear him. "We need to talk." "Not here," I whispered back urgently as laughter erupted around us from another group nearby. "Why not?" "It's perfect," he said sharply, glancing around as if searching for eavesdroppers. "This is where we hide in plain sight." A chill ran down my spine at his words, at the implication that our secret could be revealed amidst all this joy and noise. I wanted to scream that I was tired of hiding, tired of living in two worlds that collided so violently. "Let's just enjoy tonight," I replied stiffly and turned back to my husband who had begun chatting with another couple. But it wasn't easy to shake off the weight of what lingered unspoken between us. Throughout the evening, every laugh felt strained, every glance exchanged with my neighbor ignited sparks of confusion and longing within me. As night fell and colorful lights twinkled overhead, we moved toward one of the quieter areas of the park. The sounds faded into a gentle hum, it felt safer here, more intimate. "I don't understand why you're avoiding me," he said suddenly, his voice low but urgent. "I'm not avoiding you." I shot back defensively but quickly softened at the hurt in his eyes. "I'm just trying to figure things out." "Figure what out?" His frustration bubbled over as he stepped closer again. "You can't keep pretending everything is fine at home." I looked away from him for a moment, guilt washed over me like cold water splashing against skin. "It's not that simple." "It never is." His voice dropped further as he leaned in slightly closer, an invitation wrapped in vulnerability. "I care about you." Those words struck deep within me, an acknowledgement that resonated louder than any festival cheer surrounding us. But before I could respond or even process what they meant for us both, my husband appeared beside us again. "Hey! Are you two plotting something?" He grinned playfully but didn't notice how tense our bodies were or how our eyes had been locked in silence moments before. "No." We both exclaimed simultaneously before exchanging startled glances, a momentary connection lost amidst laughter once more. My heart sank deeper into uncertainty as we continued through the night together yet separate, two lives colliding without resolution or clarity ahead. Later that evening, after fireworks lit up the sky above our heads, we found ourselves standing outside at last, the three of us lingering under fading bursts of color illuminating faces filled with wonder and awe. "Let's head home," my husband suggested cheerfully while wrapping an arm around me possessively as if shielding me from everything else around us, the swirling chaos still haunting every thought running through my mind now. As we walked back toward our car parked nearby alongside others heading home too, a sense of dread settled heavily upon me again. Would this be another night where nothing changed? In silence between us all, the air thickened with unspoken truths left hanging above our heads. I couldn't shake off what had transpired earlier nor quell feelings stirring deep within me either. Once inside our car, a familiar space where conversations often flowed freely, I stared out into darkness beyond streetlights illuminating only fragments passing by outside. Memories flickered briefly before disappearing just like those fireworks moments ago. What did you two talk about? My husband broke through silence, suddenly glancing sideways at me curiously while gripping onto steering wheel tightly enough knuckles turned white under pressure mounting steadily inside him too perhaps? Nothing important. The lie slipped past lips effortlessly though it tasted bitter on tongue. It felt wrong somehow denying reality unfolding right before eyes each day now. He nodded but there was something behind his smile, a hint of concern lingering beneath surface barely concealed beneath layers built over years spent together side by side navigating life's ups downs together so far. We reached home finally after what seemed like an eternity driving through streets filled with memories both good bad alike, all blending together now leaving traces behind yet nothing substantial remained anymore. As we entered house quietly, the door clicking shut behind us, I couldn't shake off feeling restless inside once again. It clawed at edges consciousness refusing let go despite attempts made earlier tonight trying push thoughts aside. I'll get ready for bed. My husband announced casually heading upstairs while I lingered near entrance still caught up midst swirling emotions battling fiercely against reason demanding attention urgently now more than ever before. The door leading outside beckoned silently towards freedom, but also danger lurking beyond threshold waiting patiently poised strike when least expected most likely. And then there was knock echoing softly against wood frame startling body alert instantly heart pounding rapidly against ribcage hard reminding reality existed still outside these walls enclosing safety net built over years past. Before thinking twice, I opened door cautiously revealing familiar figure standing there bathed dim light spilling across porch illuminating features drawn tight with worry etched deeply upon face unmistakably revealing vulnerability hidden previously away from prying eyes watching closely always. What are you doing here? Words slipped past lips before fully processing weight behind question posed suddenly feeling breathless caught off guard yet unable deny magnetic pull drawing closer towards him once more dangerously tempting fate inviting chaos unraveling tightly woven threads, connecting lives intertwined irrevocably now. The door swung open wider, revealing him in the pale glow of the porch light. I could see the tension in his shoulders, a reflection of my own turmoil. He stepped inside, and I closed the door behind him, the soft click of the latch echoing in the stillness of the house. The weight of unspoken words hung heavy between us. "What's wrong?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated, searching my eyes for something, understanding, perhaps. "I didn't want to come here like this," he said slowly, each word deliberate. "But I needed to talk." The air felt thick with anticipation as we stood there, inches apart yet worlds away. I could see his vulnerability laid bare before me, a stark contrast to the confident facade he usually wore. It struck me how both of us were caught in this web of our own making, yearning for connection yet terrified of what it might cost us. "Let's sit," I suggested, motioning toward the living room. The couch felt like a sanctuary as we settled into its worn embrace. The familiar scent of coffee lingered in the air, a reminder of mornings spent alone. "I've been thinking about us," he started, his gaze fixed on a point just beyond my shoulder. "About what this means." His words stirred something deep within me, an unsettling mixture of hope and dread. "What do you mean?" The question slipped from my lips before I could stop it. "I have commitments, obligations." His voice faltered slightly as he spoke those words, each syllable heavy with regret. "I can't just walk away from everything." A wave of disappointment washed over me. I had sensed it all along but had chosen to ignore it in moments of passion and vulnerability. "And what about me? What about this?" My voice rose slightly, fueled by frustration. "I don't know," he admitted quietly. The truth hung between us like an invisible barrier we couldn't cross. The thrill that had once drawn us together now felt like a shackle binding us both to our respective realities. I leaned back against the couch, trying to process this new revelation. Silence enveloped us as we both wrestled with our thoughts. Outside, the sounds of suburban life continued. The distant laughter from children playing in cars driving past seemed to mock our quiet despair. I thought, maybe we could find a way, I ventured tentatively. He shook his head slowly. I don't want to hurt you. His honesty stung more than any lie could have. Then why did you come here? My words came out sharper than intended, but they needed to be said. To see if there was still something worth fighting for. His eyes met mine with an intensity that made my heart race despite everything else swirling around us. The moment stretched taut between us until it felt ready to snap under pressure. In that instant, all our shared laughter and stolen kisses flashed through my mind. The warmth we created together felt like both a blessing and a curse now. Maybe there isn't, I whispered finally, feeling an unexpected weight lift off my chest as those words escaped me. His expression darkened at my admission as if he hadn't expected such finality from me. You don't mean that. Don't I? A bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it, a defense mechanism against the pain creeping in around the edges of my heart. We sat there in silence again until he finally spoke up with uncertainty lacing his tone. What do you want? I stared at him for what felt like an eternity before answering honestly, I want clarity. His brow furrowed as if contemplating how to respond while grappling with his own emotions, a struggle mirrored within myself too deeply for comfort. Clarity comes with choices, he said eventually, breaking eye contact and looking down at his hands resting on his knees, a gesture filled with resignation that echoed within me too painfully well. What choices do we have left? He looked back up at me then, determination flickered briefly across his face before fading into something softer, a longing perhaps? To be honest about what we feel, or walk away. The thought hung heavily between us. Walking away felt like losing a part of myself while staying meant enduring heartache wrapped tightly around uncertainty, an impossible choice laid bare before both our souls aching for resolution yet terrified by its implications. I can't keep pretending everything is fine, I confessed softly after some time had passed where neither one dared break into conversation again. It was almost peaceful despite its underlying tension pulling taut against every breath taken between us now filled only with unspoken fears bubbling beneath surface-level conversations never quite reaching depth required for true understanding. He nodded slowly but didn't speak. Instead we sat there lost in thought until finally breaking free from momentary paralysis by rising together toward door leading outside where familiar world awaited beyond threshold separating two lives intertwined yet so far apart. As soon as we stepped outside into cool evening air filled with scents wafting from nearby gardens blooming vibrantly under moonlight casting shadows across pavement below our feet, I felt sudden urge push forward without thinking clearly first. Wait. He called after me just as quickly taking several steps forward trying catch up but already lost within chaos swirling around each decision made thus far leading toward inevitable conclusion awaiting just outreach, one no longer able to ignore forever. But then something shifted, just as realization dawned upon him, the sound-shattered silence surrounding us came crashing down upon fragile facade built carefully over time. It was unmistakable sirens blaring through night air drawing closer signaling danger lurking nearby threatening not only lives lived openly but also secrets hidden beneath layers built carefully over years spent dancing between desire and duty. In that moment standing together caught between choices made and consequences looming ahead, I understood that whatever path lay ahead would forever alter not only our lives but also everything held dear caught within whirlwind emotions spiraling ever further out control.